The leaders of some of South Africa's top companies met with President Cyril Ramaphosa. They urging him to act now to kickstart our ailing economy. But will it be a case of less talk and more action? Well, Yanni Rousseau is head of Wits School of Economic and Business Sciences. He speaks to us now this morning about some of these particular interventions. Mr. Rousseau, thank you very much for joining us. Firstly, any thoughts on what came out of that meeting between the president and the country's top CEOs?
At this point in time, we have very little information from what came out of the meeting. We know that they've discussed a number of issues. These issues had been on the table before. It is indeed a case of action now needed, less talk. We've discussed these problems, making us tired in discussing. We want to see steps now, like for instance around visas for people wanting to visit South Africa.
Well, the president has appointed an 18-member economic advisory team, and some saying that it's a misdiagnosis of what needs to be done. Your thoughts on his appointment of this panel?
The panel's appointment is a very positive development. From Wits, of course, we are very excited to see that 4 of our colleagues serve on the panel. So we are sure that the president will get excellent advice from colleagues at Wits. But indeed, it's now time for action. We've spoken enough. I need to add one other point, however. The president has spoken to what we like to call the captains of industry. It's now necessary for the president to speak to the corporals of industry. I mean, the owners of small businesses, the real entrepreneurs in our country, people employing 10 or 15 people. The president must also hear the challenges that the entrepreneurs in this country face, like difficulties with SARS not repaying their VAT claims, etc. These entrepreneurs are the real unsung heroes of the South African economy because they employ millions of South Africans.
So clearly your feeling is that not enough attention is being given to people who run small businesses, because these are the employers, to use your words. These are the real employers for those many South Africans who do not have jobs. Why do you think very little attention is being given to this? Because you even have a ministry, by the way, that's dedicated to uplifting and making sure that these businesses come through.
I must say that the ministry of anything is very overrated. Ministers achieve very little. I have low expectations of ministers achieving success. The problem with small business people is that they are unorganized. It's difficult to get them to speak with one voice because they are spread all over South Africa, and most of the times they are busy looking after their businesses. So the president will have to reach out to small business people actively to try and engage them. And if the Minister of Small Business wants to achieve anything, it's necessary for the ministry to reach out to small businesses rather than to be a ministry somewhere of which we've seen no successes in the last 5 years.
I've got to put this question to you. The economy right now is really not doing well. The finance minister, in fact, is on record as saying over the next 2 years, the economy is likely to grow at less than 2%. Yet you have ructions in transigent factions within the ANC that are basically almost nearly blocking everything. Look at the document, for example, that was released at National Treasury. It's still under discussion today, and yet we are going to have the finance minister delivering his medium-term budget policy statement, and that needs to give confidence to ratings agencies. Are we on the right track? Is the president being allowed the space to actually lead?
It's unfortunately true that we can no longer afford our government. Our civil service is too big, our civil service is too expensive, civil servants had too large remuneration adjustments, so tough choices face South Africa, and the real question becomes, is Mr. Ramaphosa the president that will take the tough choices to get South Africa on a road to economic recovery? And this is the time where Mr. Ramaphosa must stand up and show clear leadership that he is indeed prepared to take tough choices in the interest of South Africa.
Yanni Rousseau, thank you very much for making the time to come speak to us this morning. He is the Wits School of Economic and Business Sciences, and of course making that emphasis that the president needs to show leadership. Well, on